I'm here with Zoe, and I'm doing something that I wasn't expecting to do. We're going to do an interview style, and she's going to share her testimony about how she got into fitness, her walk with God.
My name is Zoe. I'm Coach Zoe. I've been a trainer for about 4 years now. And I basically, from Southern California, I met Andrew through Bible study and I found God about a year and a half ago in late 2024. I first started to really connect with God during my first bodybuilding prep. It kind of led me, all that solitude and bodybuilding prep kind of led me to get a lot closer to God. And I started speaking with Him more. And I realized like He has been with me this whole time. That's what I want to share a little bit more about is my whole journey and kind of how I got into fitness in the first place.
First question I'll ask you is what has the gym done for you beyond the physical aspects?
Ooh, well, that's easy. It definitely saved my mental health. I used to, be very anxious, very depressed, wouldn't want to wake up in the mornings, would kind of dread the day. The gym and, building discipline in the gym and being consistent and getting stronger and hitting PRs, like actually improved my mental health drastically. It's so simple, but getting stronger in the gym really, really built my confidence and took me from someone that was just really had a bleak outlook on life to it honestly gave me so much more hope and confidence.
What's one thing that you've learned in the gym that you can take and like use as practice throughout your everyday life outside of the gym?
I think a very obvious lesson for me that I've learned in the gym is it's okay to push yourself and challenge yourself because if wherever there is discomfort, there is going to be growth on the other side. So if it's uncomfortable to, do those squats or do those deadlifts, it's actually going to make you better in the long run. And I'm always striving to be the best version of myself and the person that, God has called me to be. It does require a bit of discomfort, and the gym is the place that teaches you like discomfort is okay. Discomfort is encouraged in the gym, right? So that you can grow, so that you can be stronger, so that you can have bigger muscles. And, it's that is like the biggest lesson I think everyone should learn is discomfort is okay because it leads to more growth.
Okay, now let's get into the meat of the story. So it's going to kind of touch on why you got into the gym. What was the driving factor for you that led you to getting into fitness?
I'm much more open sharing this story now. It's been 11 years. I know that God had his hand in all of it. So basically, when I was 15 years old, I used to play soccer, okay? And I was playing center mid in a high school soccer game, and the opponent from the other team had the ball and she cleared the ball. When she cleared the ball, I was standing about 5 feet away from her, and so the ball went straight into the left side of my face and almost broke my face and gave me the worst black eye I have ever seen in my life. Gave me a really severe concussion too, and it was one of the most traumatic days of my life. Basically, I went to urgent care, and basically 3 days later I realized, okay, so my black eye kept my eye shut for 3 whole days. 3 days later, when it finally opened, I realized I couldn't see out of my left eye. So the impact from the soccer ball basically crushed my retina. So I suffered a traumatic eye injury from that soccer game when I was 15 years old. Irreversible eye damage. And as you can imagine, at 15 years old, like that's super traumatic. And I basically was told I had to quit soccer, the sport that I loved. That was my only passion in life at the time. It was painful and I was grieving a lot because I had to give up. I mean, I lost my eyesight and then I had to give up the sport I loved the most. That was hard as a 15-year-old. Basically, what had happened was I'm a very active person. Like, I just love being active. I love going outside. I love doing things. I love playing sports. I love all of it. Basically, once I was told I couldn't play soccer anymore, I knew I had to stay active. That was the only way I knew how to cope. When I stopped playing soccer, the only other sport that I could think of to do was to run track. So I basically started running track for my high school right away. It gave me an outlet to clear my mind and gave me new things, new goals to strive for. And I really, really appreciated my time running. So I did that basically straight away after the whole accident. And then my track coach, Coach Wong, shout out Coach Wong, he would make us go into the weight room after practice every day, 5 times a week, and lift for about an hour in the weight room at my high school. And he was the one who taught me how to properly lift weights. It was just me and a few other girls, and mostly guys in the weight room, but it was like this brand new world. I was like, what are these, like, what are we doing? We're picking up weights and putting them down.
All I know how to do is run.
Right? Like, I just know how to run. But no, like lifting weights was super cool for me, and being able to get stronger and, like I said, crush PRs. It was like this whole new world, and I was just completely opened up to it, and I ended up finding a real passion for lifting. So I kept that going throughout college, and I was really consistent in the gym too, and then I started to learn more about how to properly fuel. So I taught myself like about macros and stuff in college. I stuck with it throughout college too because, like I said, it was my solitude, it was my therapy. Yeah, and I was going to school for something completely different. I was trying to go to school to be a physical therapist. I got my degree in biology, and then basically I was a physical therapist aide for about a year. And then somewhere along the line, my little sister, actually, shout out Kira, she told me about this country club that she works at. They were hiring for personal trainers. And I was like, you know what? I could do that in the meantime while I apply for physical therapy school. And so I ended up getting the job. I wasn't even certified at that point. I just got the job, and I was like, okay, cool. Like,
That was the fake it till you make
yeah,
it.
yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to train people, sure. Yeah, so I basically started as a personal trainer there at the Claremont Club, and that was my first experience training people. I started training a lot of senior clients. Then I realized like I had a really big passion for training other women and teaching them how to build confidence the same way that I was taught how to build confidence in the gym with the weights. And I was like, you know what? This is something I need to pursue further. So I actually just decided to become an independent personal trainer and run my own business, Builtbyzoe, instead of pursuing physical therapy. And I have no regrets, and I've loved every minute of every client session that I've had. I love being able to train women one-on-one on my own terms, creating a safe space for women. I think it's super important that women are not intimidated by the gym because it's something so ingrained in me too now. I've been lifting for over 10 years, so this is something that means so much to me, and like I said, saved my mental health, gave me confidence. I realized despite like all the loss I had endured and the pain, honestly, and the grief at 15 years old, like, all of that I had endured, God made it so, and he had his hand in all of that so that I can live out my purpose and help other women. Like, I truly feel so tied to my purpose, and I wake up every day excited to help women, and I just want to keep helping more women, like as many women as possible, because the gym is not just the gym to me. Like, it's so much more than that. It's so powerful. There's so much you can gain from empowering yourself and getting stronger and educating yourself about strength and lifting and nutrition and everything. There's just so much involved in it, and I just think it parallels life in so many ways, getting stronger. So yeah, that's basically like the gist of how I got to where I am now.
I had some questions come up, and as I was literally asking the questions in my head, you were answering them.
Oh, nice.
So it's like, okay, the one thing that you kind of answered, but I'll kind of get into a little bit deeper, is would you, obviously you said you had no regrets on what happened. If you had to choose to do it again, would you do it exactly how your life happened?
Yes, I would. I would, which is crazy to say. Like, I know it was traumatic, and I know, shout out my mom, she was there for me through it all. And I was in therapy, I did the whole thing, and I, went through so much in such a short period of time at such a young age, but I truly feel like it was meant to happen that way. So I would honestly do it all over again. And yes, I still don't have full vision in my left eye. So yeah, I'm partially blind, but I think I'm a great partially blind trainer.
You don't really need to see to hit PRs. So, so if there's one thing you can give someone who may be experiencing some sort of traumatic event right now in their life that they're going through, what's one thing that you can kind of give them a tip on, or something that helped you get through that difficult situation?
Yeah, I think that's an amazing question. So, unfortunately, we will all experience grief and loss in this life. Like, it's inevitable. It's a universal experience that we all can share. And my biggest piece of advice to anyone experiencing grief is to invest in yourself. As crazy as it seems like when people go through grief, they want to pull away from themselves and turn to other things and turn to other vices. But to be honest, like the greatest, and I'm so passionate about this, the greatest decision I ever made at 15 years old was to continue to stay active and despite all of that grief. So if you're someone experiencing grief, just take it from me, pour into yourself and you will not regret it. So yeah, that's my biggest piece of advice.